Hi, today is May 14th, 2023, and here are my poems for the day. The first one is poem number 791 for the year. It's a sonnet. It's called Heaven's Gate. I'm very slowly watching Heaven's Gate, a film I've watched before, but long ago. So long, in fact, I watched on video. But let me say, I think it's really great. Deer Hunter's follow-up from Cimino, the details of its failure haunt us still. 3.5 gross against 44 mil. United Artists suffered quite a blow. The studios could not handle the pain. Box office failures gave the bigwigs pause. They wanted films like Star Wars and like Jaws. Before this film, directors had free rein. But Heaven's Gate should not get all the blame. It's underrated. It's a goddamn shame. Poem number 792, mostly finished. That last one was an accidental sonnet. I wanted to write about a scene in Heaven's Gate, and I wrote that first line, and it happened to be an iambic pentameter, so I went with it. I mostly finished it last night. I mostly finished this one last night, too. I partly finished the next one last night, too. It's about the scene that I wanted to write about in the first place before I got distracted by iambs and pentameter. The truth is, I wanted to be mostly finished with all of today's poems by last night because I have a lot to do today and I wanted a head start. But I didn't mostly finish all the poems. I didn't even mostly finish all the poems. But I mostly finished two and partly finished a third, and I think that's better than not having mostly finished any. But I don't really know. Poem number 793, God of Shit. About a half an hour into Heaven's Gate, Richard Masur, playing Cully, asks Chris Christopherson, playing Jim Averill, "Is the law hanging women now?" Jim replies, "She shot her husband in the head 6 times, and then the kids." And Richard Masur exclaims, "God of shit." And then I exclaimed, "God of shit." And then I had to Google that astonishing exclamation to see if it's a thing that people actually say. But I get impatient when I Google while I'm writing because I want to get back to writing. I got one clear result, and the result is a song by The Porridge Face, which I guess I have to listen to now. God of shit. Poem number 794, The Porridge Face. The song God of Shit came up on Spotify, but sadly, or perhaps fortunately, I was unable to play it. But I found the lyrics. It begins, "Oh, why have you forsaken me, O mighty God of shit?" and then goes on to ask, "Why have you left and forgotten me? And why have you left my prayers unheard when I'm in a time of need?" And then the chorus goes, "O mighty God of shit, keep the blessings that deceive. O mighty God of shit, I confess that I no longer believe." So it's about loss of faith, turning away. It kind of reminds me of that song from the musical Book of Mormon, Hasa Diga Iboi, which, if you haven't seen, I'm not going to spoil for you. You can Google that shit. Poem number 795, Sterquilinus. There is a god called Sterquilinus. He is or was a god of odor or manure. The name comes from a Latin word meaning fertilizer or manure. But Wikipedia tells me that Sterquilinus was not the sole deity of feces on its own as in sewage. So I looked up god of sewage, and that's when I learned of the toilet gods. Poem number 796, Toilet Gods. There is a sewer goddess called Cloacina. Her name comes from the Latin word for sewer. She was borrowed from Etruscan mythology and was the protector of Rome's sewage system. Titus Tatius built a shrine to her in his toilet. She was invoked if the sewers got backed up or blocked. The Christians used to claim that the Romans had a god of flatulence called Crepitus that you invoked if you had diarrhea or constipation, but the Christians probably made that up. Wikipedia has a whole page devoted to toilet gods, because of course they do. I've only skimmed through it because I've got a lot going on this morning, and besides, I think we've had about enough of this shit. And the last poem of the day is poem number 797, Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I'm sorry about all the God of shit stuff. It's not my fault. It's Michael Cimino's fault. Michael Cimino apparently invented the phrase God of shit. It's not my fault. I saw you yesterday and gave you some gifts and a card, and I will call you later. And when I call you, I will give you no shit or gods of shit. I love you, and I thank you, and I forgive you, and I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. All right, that's it. I wouldn't say I love you, But I do thank you, and I do appreciate you, and happy Mother's Day. That's all.